Hello, my name is Ray Massey. I'm an agricultural economist with the University of Missouri Extension, and I work in the Ag Business and Policy Unit. And if you're like me, you're beginning to hear a lot of news stories again about agriculture and greenhouse gas emissions or sequestration. And this was a hot topic over 10 years ago, kind of died out a little bit. But even this morning, as I was reading my news, if I can get my slides to advance, as I was reading my news, I found that Bayer had launched a carbon initiative in which it wants to reward farmers for generating carbon credits. And so one of the things that's different this time than 10 years ago is whereas most of the players were either government agencies or environmental groups, we're beginning to see a lot more businesses become involved in concern over greenhouse gas emissions. So for a little bit of background, I just wanted to show you the trends in US emissions over time. So 1990 being the base year, the emissions, which is the green line in the middle there, is almost the same as it was in 1990, a little bit higher. Our population and real GDP has gone up, so our emissions per person and per dollar of economic activity are down. But the important thing for global warming is the total emissions, and so we need to get those down as well. When the EPA does look at greenhouse gas emissions, they break it out into 5 economic sectors: industry, transportation, commercial, residential, and agriculture. Agriculture is the smallest section at only 10%, but it does have some unique characteristics and is large enough that it has captured quite a bit of attention. So as we look at that 10% there, what we see is about half of that 10% is from soil management issues, about a third from enteric fermentation of livestock, and then about a sixth of it's from manure management. So let's take each one of those and see what people are talking about with regard to managing greenhouse gases. So if we look at soil management, which was the largest subsection, agriculture is the largest source of nitrous oxide emissions in the US. And that's important because nitrous oxide has a global warming potential of 298 times that of carbon dioxide. So a little bit of nitrous oxide goes a long way. When we're talking about how to reduce that, we are, for the most part, talking about trying to reduce nitrogen fertilizer applications or increase nitrogen fertilizer efficiency. We can use the 4 R's of fertility to do that. We might be using enhanced efficiency fertilizers. Precision ag is talked about a lot as, again, enhancing efficiency and keeping from putting it in the wrong location. There's also some talk about carbon sequestration through reduced tillage or increased cover crop adoption. And then there is talk about requiring nutrient management plans, which have been required for some livestock producers applying manure, but it may become required for crop producers just using commercial fertilizers. If we go on to the next one, methane emissions by livestock type, which was about a third of the agricultural emissions, we said beef cattle are responsible for about 3/4 of it, dairy cattle for about 1/4. And again, that is enteric fermentation that's causing this. And so the chief means of trying to change that is increased feed efficiency. And the US actually has a pretty good record of increasing feed efficiency, feeding high quality feeds. Our greenhouse gas emissions per pound of beef or per gallon of milk are among the lowest in the world because we do emphasize efficiency. And so there's concern that we continue to do that with different nutrient standards or even with breeding animals that are more efficient. When we look at methane emissions from manure, which was about 1/6 of the US agricultural emissions, about half of that comes from dairy cattle, about 1/3 of it comes from swine. And for the most part, that's because they deal with liquid manures. And so one of the concerns is, can we get away from liquid manures? But even more importantly, people are talking about anaerobic digesters, where we are taking the manure from dairy and swine for the most part and putting it in a digester that either cleans up the methane emissions that are coming off of that and puts them into a pipeline for use as a fuel, or actually burns it and creates electricity. And so there's a lot of interest in anaerobic digesters. This study here is just published this year by the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, and they're talking about negative emissions technologies, getting it down to zero, not just the 1990s level, but down to zero. And they also talk about reliable sequestration. They mention a couple of opportunities in agriculture, and that is bioenergy, which is that carbon, taking methane from manure and capturing it. That is very popular because it's measurable and it is permanent. When you go to carbon removal and sequestration by agriculture, there's a little bit more uncertainty around that, and so people are a little bit less excited about it. I should say agencies and environmental groups are less excited. They do want to use it, but they're not sure how they want to reward or incentivize farmers to take it because of the uncertainty surrounding it. So I hope that helps you out as you think about the news stories that you're hearing of greenhouse gases in agriculture. If you have any questions, go ahead and contact me at my email or the other contact information on this slide. Have a good day.